Good afternoon, hope this finds you well. I was very excited recently to receive a gift from my wife Emily, a new book called Fringe. It was written by some former colleagues of hers when she worked with Church Mission Society. And I was excited because at times these days I find it hard to connect with Jesus, at least in the same way that I have in the past. When I first became a Christian, I felt very much on the edges. I was in a difficult period of life, came to know him. Exciting times when my life changed significantly, followed by a number of years where I had the privilege to be involved in several ministries to people who were on the edges. But a bit different phase of life that I find myself in now. So Fringe Dwellers, it's a collection of 40 reflections on different encounters that Jesus had with people who were on the edges for a whole variety of reasons in society at that time. People who were sidelined, people who were so often looked down on, or people just didn't know what to do with them. And the encounters that Jesus had with them so often, we know, brought hope and joy and transformation and a whole renewed sense of value to them. Maybe that's something that you can relate with in your own encounter with Jesus. The first reflection is based on the story of the man named Legion. Many of you will know a man who was possessed by demons, and he was driven so mad by this that the townspeople just didn't know how to deal with him. They couldn't even restrain him in chains because he would break out, and he was now living among the burial tombs on a hill. What caught me fresh with this story was not Jesus' power over the demons. That was something I'm familiar with, but it was where it happened and what happened on the way. See, Jesus had been teaching large crowds, huge crowds it sounded like. People had been coming from all across Israel to see and to hear him. So much so that he was teaching from a boat. Disciples had taken him out onto the edge of the lake so that he could teach the crowds from there so that they couldn't overcrowd him. And in the middle of this ministry, it seemed to go on for days, maybe longer, presumably to hundreds, maybe thousands of people, Jesus asked the disciples one evening to take him across on the boat to the other side of the lake. On the way across, we have that famous story of how a great storm grew. The disciples became afraid for their lives. They woke Jesus, who was sleeping, and Jesus calmly got up and told the wind and the waves to be quiet and still. And they were. This amazing picture that we have of Jesus' power over nature, and a metaphor that we so often use about how Jesus can calm the storms in our lives, a story that we can take and do take great comfort from. But this does not seem to be the main purpose of this trip, at least not the full purpose. The storm and the miraculous calming happened on the way across, away from the crowds, these people that had come to see Jesus, and to this man named Legion. When they arrived, Legion, at least the demons within Legion, recognised Jesus straight away. They recognised and called him the Son of the Most High God. They got it like that. And it seemed they'd almost been expecting him as they asked him, Jesus, what do you want with us? Jesus drove out the demons. He sent them into a herd of pigs. He restored the troubled man to his right mind. He had a brief encounter with the townspeople who simply were not sure what to make of this. Got back in the boat, and then he and the disciples went back across the lake, back to the crowds, and to continue the ministry to the hundreds and thousands. I wonder what the disciples made of all of this. I wonder what I would have made of all of this. And I wonder what we are to make of this today, in our time, in the places that we live, and the people that we encounter. If nothing else, at least I think it challenges us to consider who are the people on our edges that Jesus wants to restore and wants to bless. Like for the disciples, for us to step out and bring Jesus to some of these people may not be a comfortable process. We may encounter storms in different forms on the way. But I wonder to what edges, to what fringes Jesus might be leading us today. Thank you for listening.